Hello and welcome to episode number 115 of WP Café, the podcast where we share the real, unfiltered experience of running our WordPress business, Highrise Digital. I'm Keith Devon, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mark Wilkinson. And today we're going to be talking, I think, mostly about AI. It's going to be a short show today. You might be pleased to hear. But yeah, we've had some experiences with some AI coding recently and some conversations on social media about that. So we're going to be talking about some of that. If you enjoy the show, please do hit subscribe, leave a comment. And if you're watching along live on YouTube, please do say hello. And maybe even share this with someone who might find it useful. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So join the conversation. And now on to today's show. Mark, how are you doing today? How's your week been?
I am very well. Yeah, very well. It's been a busy week this week. This and that going on. Just the usual stuff. Selling products, developing WordPress stuff, talking to clients. Yeah, nothing exciting as such, nothing groundbreaking, but kept me busy. So yeah, how about you?
Yeah, no, I've had a good week. Got a couple of WordPress builds. So WordPress is our WordPress job boards service. I don't want to call it a product because it's not really. It's where we go and install job boards on people's WordPress websites. So we've got a couple of those in, which is always good. We've got some quotes out at the minute, which is kind of exciting. We've got some kind of interesting project work on at the moment, and another product idea. And I don't know if we're going to talk about it today. Maybe not, because we won't have time. But we've got a little kind of marketing-y kind of idea, don't we? In the offing. So that's been kind of exciting. I think we'll talk about that more when there's something a bit more solid to say. But yeah. So let's jump into today's show. I think, we're going to aim for about 20 minutes or so today. We're going to start off with AI. So I had a go at some AI coding. It's not my first attempt. I used it a little bit on a recent project of ours just to do some stuff, especially some JavaScript work around like pop-ups and things, and like search pop-ups and the menu system, which worked really well. And I was using ChatGPT for that, and it was good. It got itself in a few tangles. It seems to get to a point sometimes where it just kind of stops doing what you're asking it to do, and it just keeps repeating the same code back to you. So it's like, no, please fix this. And it's like, I fixed that for you. Here's the code. It's like, that's exactly the same. Can you change this, please? Here, I've changed that for you. Here's the new code. It's like, nope, that's still the same as before. And it seems to get to that point. So I tried again recently. I was inspired. I mean, everyone's talking about it, right? So like there's videos all over the place. And I ended up watching Nick Diego's video where he builds a little extension to the code block using Cursor. And I keep hearing people talking about Cursor. And we saw a website recently that we liked, and they had this nice little effect where someone hovers over a video and the video starts playing. So it was like a meet the team page, and it was like a grid of all the employees, and it looked like still images, but when you hover over them, they start playing a little short video loop, and it was really cute. I really liked it as an idea. And those two things were just in my head at the same time, and I was like, I really like that idea. There's this video about using Cursor. I'm gonna use that idea to try to build something. Actually, initially, I didn't even use Cursor. I just went straight to ChatGPT and tried to do it. And I instantly got quite far. So I was asking it to add controls to the video block. Did I start off with a custom block? I started off with a custom block. And I was like, no, this should be an extension of the core video block. So I scrapped the original plugin, started again. And then I started extending what was there, asking it to add options to the settings panel, which it did, but it didn't add it to the pane that I wanted to add it to. So if you know the video block in the block editor, it's got a settings pane in the settings sidebar. in the block sidebar. And it has things like autoplay, mute, hide controls. There's a few more. And I wanted mine to go in there. I wanted to have a play on hover toggle in there. And initially it just didn't do it, even though I gave it instructions to do that. It was like, I've done that for you. But it had just created its own new pane called settings and added it. So I had 2 settings panes, one with my stuff in it, one with the default stuff. But I got quite far, but then it wasn't working in the editor and front end at the same time. So there were just a few problems here and there. And then I tried to add aspect ratio, and I got to that point that I was talking about where it kept telling me that it was fixing things and it wasn't fixing it. So it was like, this isn't working on the front end. Can you figure out why? Oh, yes, this will be why it's not working. Returns the same code. So I got to that point with ChatGPT, and it was getting really frustrating. So I thought, I am going to try Cursor. Like, I'm gonna give this a go. So I'd already seen Nick's video, so I loaded up that video again, kind of walked through how he does it. Which is it's a really a different process. So Cursor is a text editor. It looks very, very much like VS Code.
Yeah.
So it's already kind of familiar to me, which was nice. But there's these. It's not just like using something like Copilot. You could, well, maybe this stuff is available in Copilot as well. But one of the things that seems to be important and seems to be part of the power of it working well is all the context you give it before you even start asking it to do things.
Okay.
So for example, I think was it called the instructions file? There's basically two setup files that Nick used. One was to kind of set the lay of the land, like pretend it's like the initial prompt with all the detail. So it's like, pretend you're an expert WordPress developer using modern WordPress coding, PHP version 7.4 and above, blah, 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 blah. So there's this big list. And you can actually download example ones of those off a website, which he links to, which is kind of interesting. Okay. So I just used one of the boilerplate ones of those. And then there's another file where you actually give it instructions. So he broke his plugin development into steps. So he's like, scaffold the plugin. My name's Nick Diego. Use that where appropriate. The plugin's called this. You're already inside the plugin directory, so you don't need to create that. So it's that kind of stuff. So that's like step 1, and then it's like step 2. Create the the block UI. Add this option. Blah blah blah. Step 3, do this kind of thing. So he says that's kind of important. The step thing's kind of important.
It's a bit like pseudocode, like outlining what you want this thing to do, and
yeah, exactly. And you can go into obviously quite a lot of detail and just be quite conversational about it in a way, which is I really like. I do like it. So I did that, and the other cool thing you can do is you can give it even more context by adding like documentation and things. So you can reference the WordPress developer docs just by typing in this little thing. It's like at docs or at WordPress or something, and it comes up, it searches, and then you select WordPress, and you can do that for a number of things, and you can basically point it to whatever you think you need to point it at to like know more about how to do this properly. And then you just ask it to like walk through the steps. And the first time I did it, I got it all mixed up. I don't know what happened, but it just seemed to like, it wasn't doing it like step by step. It was almost doing its own increments, like really small increments. But it even helped me, like I didn't have Node set up properly or the right version or something. So I was like, oh God. And I just ask it, like, this is the error message I'm getting. I just put that back into it. This is what I'm getting. Fix it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you need to run this command. And you can just like hit run, and it runs the terminal commands for you. You don't need to type it into the terminal or copy and paste it. So that's really cool. Like every time it suggests something to do, you can not every time, most times you can just hit a button to do it, which is really nice. So I got quite far, but then I got to that point again where things just weren't working and it just wasn't understanding. And I was like, oh God, this is really annoying. And I don't know the annoying bit is I didn't actually learn a lesson here, but I started again, and I think I made my instructions better, like my stepped instructions, and I made sure that Cursor actually followed those steps rather than just kind of doing what it wanted to do the first time. I don't know why it wasn't following my steps. Anyway, in the end, I had a perfectly working plugin that extends the core video block, adds a hover effect, not a hover effect. It plays the video on hover. It actually mutes the video as well whenever you select play on hover, because that was something that came up. It wouldn't do it for because of some kind of like browser security thing. It won't autoplay unless you've interacted already or something. So I was like, well, we want it to be muted anyway, so just turn mute on. It was cool. It's cool, and it just worked. And I was like, wow, that's.
Did you manage to get it working in the settings panel, or did you still have to have your own settings section?
I never did. I
don't think you can, because when I was doing the better video embeds one, I couldn't do that. I had to have my own settings panel.
So I created an additional settings panel or advanced settings or something like that, which is fun. So in the end, I had that play on hover, which automatically toggles mute as well. And then I had an aspect ratio control, which is pretty nice and works really well. So really happy with it. And like I say, like, this is someone who definitely doesn't really get modern JavaScript development. Like, I was only I could just about do JavaScript, and then all this JSX stuff. And like,
so a few questions.
Yeah.
Do you understand what it's done?
No.
You've no idea what it's done, really, in terms of like what it's done, right? Okay.
No. I mean,
do you think that matters?
Yeah. I don't know.
I just wonder.
I don't know the answer, because
we all use
some
WordPress.
level I don't understand things. Like,
exactly, we all use WordPress, and we don't understand every aspect of how it works. Like, we're obviously, most of us listening probably are seasoned developers, and we understand a lot of WordPress. But I couldn't put hand on heart and say, look, I understand all aspects of WordPress and how it all works. Yeah. Yet we'd still call ourselves fairly expert in WordPress development.
Yeah.
So I think.
Yeah, I think whenever you start getting into little issues, if you actually had some knowledge, you could fix them. Like, if you were an expert at this stuff, if I was an expert at this stuff, and I was using AI, I think that's the dream combination. But I do wonder how long that expertise is even going to be needed. If you think that like these tools didn't even exist, like, I don't know, a year ago. Well, I don't know when this all started exactly, but considering what it can do today and considering the pace of change of AI, I don't know.
This comes to my next question. Is it going to put developers out of a job? I think the answer is yes, definitely yes. Whether it will be top-end developers out of job is probably not in the next few years.
Yeah.
I think it'll be the lower-end junior developers that AI will just do what they used to do.
Yeah.
And it's already doing it pretty good. So I do worry for like my job. I do. I think AI will be doing that job. You won't need me. So
I 100% agree. I think it will. It'll happen over time. But people could argue, well, it'll just speed us up, which might be true. But then that comes like, there isn't an infinite amount of development work to be done. So if we all speed up, we're going to kind of run out of stuff to do, I think. But
like you've just built a plugin there and you didn't really know what it's done. I mean, you know what you wanted it to do, but anyone who's using WordPress could think, I'd love to have a box in there that does this, and then I can do, and then, so in theory, they could do what you've just done.
I agree.
You could go and ask AI to do it, and
people
it'll give them a
plugin.
So that's what I'm saying. So it is going to put people out of a job, definitely.
I can't see how it doesn't.
Which is worrying, really worrying, I think.
Yeah. I mean, always sort of been the way. Like, I watched a movie recently that was about the Black American woman who worked at NASA in the 60s. Really good movie. Cannot remember what it was called. And they were human computers. They had a room called the computer room, and each person in that room was called a computer because they were good at maths and they computed things. Now, in the movie, NASA buys an IBM computer that's the size of a room.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that progress, like IBM computers coming along, like electronic computers, did not affect the need of human computers. And that's exactly what's happening now. We've got a tool now that is way faster and way better than us. And if it's not better than us, it is better than us. It will be soon. It will be soon. So yeah, absolutely. I don't. I've been really interested. Elliot Richmond, I don't know if he's watching today, posted some stuff on Twitter about, he's like saying that learning code deeply is even more important than ever. And AI, I think he's not saying it won't replace us, but he's less worried. He thinks there's still going to be a need for the experts. And I'm just like, well, for how long? Like, I just can't see it. I can't see any human brain being able to hold the information. Like, Cursor, whenever I pointed it in the right direction, had instant access to all of the WordPress documentation and my whole code base.
Yeah.
It's just like, I can never do that. Like, so yeah.
Got some good questions. Craig says, I think the movie was called Hidden Figures.
Yes.
Great movie, apparently. So worth watching.
Yeah.
Courtney, thank you for your question. When a client can build their own website for £10 per month on Squarespace, why do we still charge tens of thousands for websites? They can do it themselves. I think that's it. Is AI not the same? Good question.
Yeah.
So I suppose the answer to that is they still have to do something with AI, don't they? And at the moment, they don't know how to do that thing with AI or want to do that thing with AI. And at the moment, I don't think they can do everything with AI. I think, what we're trying to say, I think because you're still writing code and you're still asking it to write code that you then need to do something with, it isn't quite there. But are we going to get to the stage where you can just say to AI, create me an instance of WordPress that is this, and it will just do it?
Yeah.
And just put it on your server for you and say, there's the URL.
Yeah.
In which case, once you get to there, which can't be that long off, then that's where it changes for me.
I've seen AI website building tools where you just say, this is my, and some of them are even within WordPress. Like, this is my industry. This is what my business name is. These are some of the, I don't know, some of our services or some of my brand guidelines, and it just goes bang. It whirs away for a couple of minutes, and it creates a WordPress website with appropriate but not accurate content and images and pages and blah blah blah. I cannot see how, when things are now so accessible to so many people, like that kind of knowledge and ability, and it's so fast, I can't see how this isn't going to completely decimate the industry in terms of like developers. And like Elliot said, he is watching. He said something in, I think, one of his original posts that I saw on Blue Sky about like, great for entrepreneurs and MVPs, but we'll still need proper developers. I agree with that for now. But what I would say is that it's the entrepreneur bit that I think is interesting, because I think this really enables people like me who have never been like really, really technically good. Like, I'm not a computer programmer. I'm not a total nerd when it comes to like, I don't have the memory to like know JavaScript and HTML and like all the things all the time and to learn React. But I do have ideas, and I do like creating things and bringing things to fruition. So I think this is like my time almost. It's like I can have an idea for an app or a plugin or whatever and just be like, I'm just going to do it. and I don't need anyone's help, and it's not going to cost me loads of money. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Quickly, Courtney says, I'm in the camp that AI is more efficient, less developers, but won't replace us all. I think I'm probably in the same camp. Will we ever get rid of us? I hope not. But certainly it will replace a lot of developers, in my opinion. Peter, thanks for joining us. Hello, gents. I've created a number of snippets and plugins primarily for getting the WP admin interface just as I want. Yeah, probably really good for doing that sort of stuff. Elliot says he's here. Hello. Sorry, I'm just reading through these comments. And Peter says he's mainly been using ChatGPT. It's about the prompting, also used to debug and have to explain the snippet he's doing to learn from the process. Yeah, I often ask ChatGPT to do something, and then it will. And then I'll ask it to... In fact, to be honest, it started explaining itself now. It gives you an explanation underneath. But sometimes I'll ask it to go back to the code and can you put comments in the code?
Yeah.
And it will. And it'll tell me what each line's doing, which is exactly what I want. Then I can understand it more, which is good. Is good.
Yeah. That's interesting last point from Elliot there. He says, AI is great at regenerating code, not so good at using and understanding bleeding edge features. I probably agree with that. I don't know, though, how long it will take AI to learn those new features. It probably could be quicker than me learning them. And the only other thing I would say there, Elliot, is I think you're right, I think, but we don't use bleeding edge stuff. Like Mark and I are quite often quite far behind the curve kind of deliberately because we like to use stuff that's kind of stable and usable. And I think AI's probably capable enough to know what we need to know to use. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting point. The bleeding edge stuff, like how current is its knowledge of best practices? Like, is it relying on content from blog posts and documentation 10 years ago to generate code? So it's an interesting question.
But surely AI can do that. It can, it can spot trends in a diagnose cancer so surely it can spot things like that and do new things. And
yeah,
I guess, don't know how it works, but obviously
it actively looking at the WordPress make blog to know what's kind of just on the horizon, so that it's clever enough about the code that it's writing because it might be more future proof or something. I don't know.
So are we saying that it can't come up with ideas? It can't come up with new code to do something. All it can do is look at existing examples and then apply them to what you were asking it to do.
I think it does come up with new code, but based on old code. So I think Elliot's saying he's talking about understanding
that's what we do.
Bleeding edge features. So stuff that's just been released, like a new API in WordPress that doesn't know about.
Yeah, but my point is, can it create a new API in WordPress? Can it do things that just don't exist? Because that's what humans do. We take a problem and then we build something that doesn't exist. And what do we do with that? We take our existing learning, and then we build on it, which is kind of what AI does, doesn't it? So
yeah.
Surely it will be able to do that. It probably isn't very good at it at the moment, but it will be.
Yeah,
I'm sure it will.
It's a exciting and terrifying new world, I think. But I'm not going to
terrifying than the exciting. But
but I'm going to make use of it while we all still have jobs.
Yeah,
that's you can't.
I think the reason why I think it's terrifying is because it just seems to me that we've already got a handful of AI companies, and all the money is just going to be them because literally everyone is going to use it, because if you don't use it, you're going to be behind.
Yeah,
which is slightly worrying. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
On that happy note, let's call it a day for this week. I won't be around next week, so we're going to have a little 2-week break from us, but we should be around the following Friday. Probably doing it, I was going to say live from London. We're going to be in London next Friday, aren't we? Or the Friday after, because it'll be the night after our WordPress London presentation. So we might have to schedule it for another day that week, potentially. So keep an eye out. Actually. Yeah, I don't know.
I think my train's like 3:30. So
we might be able to get it done. Yeah, we might be able to get it done. But if you don't want to miss it, you just need to subscribe to the channel or subscribe to the podcast. So thanks for joining us today, everyone. I know it's a short one, but I hope you enjoyed it. Please do leave a like, share, comment, do all the things all the content creators always ask you to do, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.